Dave, good to see you, mate. Why don't we kick it off by just perhaps giving us a sense of what does a typical day look like for Dave Lorenz and Travel Michigan at the moment?
Well, that's a strange thing these days because I'm doing anything but typical now. Typically, I would be driving 102.4 miles to the office. I live on Lake Michigan, and Lansing is in the middle of the Lower Peninsula. These days, like everybody else, I'm working from the house, and I'm actually trying to do something that I would normally do in a different way. You know, we are usually thinking of ourselves as needing to inspire the travelers and to make them aware of our destinations and such. These days, I'm spending a lot of time trying to inspire our industry and trying to give them some hope. Everybody's scared. People don't know what's happening. So you see these crazy pictures here, my ego wall of information. And you know, so I usually start out the day with posting a picture with some kind of a message, just reminding the industry, of which I have a lot of followers, that we're going to get through this, and it's different for everybody, but we will. It'll be a challenge. It's going to be harder before it's easier, but eventually we'll look back at this time as that time when the world went crazy and we figured our way out.
Yeah, I think wise words, Dave. So just in that context, do you want to give the audience a sort of 60-second update on what's the situation in Michigan? What's the situation with you know, the tourism industry there?
Yeah, we've been certainly hit hard with COVID-19, especially in Southeast Michigan. You know, the Detroit area is heavily African-American population, and the African-American population has been hit horribly. So that's hurt us very badly. And especially in that community. The good news is all the numbers are coming down. So the stay-home orders have been working. All the data shows that we're getting close to being able to get back out there and experiencing life as we all would like to. You know, we, like other states, have had the proponents and those who kind of like how the government is handling things, and those who don't. And so we've certainly seen some protests and such. But I think more so, there's been great support of the administration and how they've handled things so far. And frankly, if you look at the numbers, you can see we're making some great strides, and we'll get there soon. And I think within just a few short weeks, people will be starting to travel. Golf courses are now opening up, but you can get in your boat now. These things weren't allowed until just about a week ago.
So how has the crisis directly impacted Travel Michigan and the wider Department of Economic Development in terms of funding, support, staffing, and resources to tackle these challenges?
Well, you know, I used to kind of wonder if Travel Michigan being a part of the Michigan Economic Development Corporation really made sense. And these last few years, I've really changed my opinion about that a lot, because I used to look at Travel Michigan as being almost exclusively a marketing organization. But in reality, we started to shift years ago into a true destination management organization, you know, that kind of a DMO. And the role of the DMO has shifted so much, even at the statewide level. So we've been working on a lot of things like destination management and helping the industry on community development and things like this. Being a part of the MEDC, we have experts in these fields. And it's never been more helpful than right now, because we're able to connect our industry to these services that have become so very needed at this time. So things are going well, and it's certainly helped us, I think, start to stabilize, certainly faster than we would have if we'd have been kind of out there on our own.
So do you want to share what's one or two things you're working on immediately that are having the most impact in terms of responding to this crisis?
Yeah, certainly. You know, I got to first, of course, Michigan is in the Great Lakes area, the upper Midwest, and we have a four-season environment here, and we love it. Those of us who live here, most of us do. Not a lot of winter fans, I suppose, compared to the warm weather months. But at this time of the year, this is the time where there's already pent-up demand. We have so-called cabin fever, and people just can't wait to get out. So we would typically at this time, if we had budget, and we need to talk about that real quickly, we'd be, presenting the story of all these great experiences and places you can go all throughout the state. Now we are in a current situation where we aren't budgeted. We had a strange, we were vetoed out of our budget at the beginning of the year, October 1. We were just about to get budgeted out of an agreement between the legislature and the governor's office when all this hit. So we are operating without funding. A little bit difficult right now, especially now when there's a great need for us to be able to transition from where we are today eventually to the point where we're going to need to encourage people to travel. So I can kind of walk you through some of our trip planning options that we're offering people right now. One of the things that we're trying to do is, like so many other states, we're trying to get people to dream about their travel experiences, to plan their future travel experiences. We're making it very obvious that now is the time to stay home, to make sure other people are safe. And that's been part of our messaging that, you might feel comfortable for yourself, but think about other people. Try to think about other people. That's been a big part of our kind of changing message. So as part of that, we've worked with the industry and we've come up with a whole bunch of virtual experiences where people can see live cameras and in classroom projects and go into world-class museums like the Henry Ford and so many others. So that has helped us transition eventually to where we're going to need to go when the time is right, and that will be this whole thing about, okay, you've been stuck at home, you've been planning, and soon it will be the time to get out there. So we're trying to encourage people to book right now. We're to book in advance. We're working with the media, and we have used the virtual experience platform as a reason to get a lot of media time, frankly. It's gotten us a lot of free media time, and we need that, especially since we haven't had advertising dollars to work with. We'll continue to transition then. You can go to the next slide if you don't mind, please. As we move forward, it's going to be more important for us to work on this whole thing about unity. I mentioned earlier that it's important for all of us to try to inspire people, and my little ways that I try to do that every day with the travel industry. But with this disharmony and with people just simply not trusting government today more than ever, I think it's really important that we try to come together and we communicate the value of coming together and the value of unity, and how now, if we can't be united now as one state, working for others, working for our neighbors and having care for other people, when can we? So we've developed a pretty organic campaign actually that we call Two Peninsulas, One Pure Michigan. And it's, of course, something that could only be done in the state because of our unique, upper and lower peninsula. We are literally and figuratively joined by the Mackinac Bridge. It's a 5-mile long bridge. It was the longest suspension bridge in the world for nearly 60 years. And it's an awesome thing. You can see these two billboard examples here. And what we're trying to tell our own residents is right now, do your part. Be one people, be patriotic, do your part by being one pure Michigan, by staying home and planning, and then eventually you'll be able to get out there. We are two peninsulas. We know that everybody's different, but at the end of the day, we're all the same. So let's try to think of others. And so we put together a campaign. We've worked with the media. They know we don't have any budget. They've given us awesome free space, billboards, 55 billboards around the state. Digital billboards. We have TV stations that are providing us free space and time. And in fact, I think we have a TV ad that we produced that we can show you that will kind of show you how we're trying to initially get across the message that now's the time to stay home, and let's value that time. Let's appreciate that time as much as we can, even in this difficult time, because soon we'll have that opportunity to get out there, to do what we're truly missing more than anything, and that is these connections that the travel industry provides us. So we can play that ad. We'll try to do that.
Do you have a phone?
Go fish.
Gone fishing. It's a sign that means we've locked up and headed off to do something we love.
gone sailing, gone biking, gone golfing, gone climbing, gone wandering. Pure Michigan.
And your trip begins at michigan.org. And what we're really trying to do here is kind of the first stage of this communication, and that is, hey, now's our time to stay home. But we're trying to have a little fun with it too, to be both inspirational and to try to lighten up the mood. It's a difficult time for people. So we've done crazy things where we're saying, you know, like in this case, greetings from picturesque Patio, Michigan. That's my front porch there. Greetings from Kitchen, Michigan, and such. We put together this 2 Peninsula, 1 Pure Michigan campaign that includes digital postcard templates that people can drop in, so they can drop in their own pictures and email them to friends. We have, you know, these templates where you can greetings from your couch, greetings from your living room, these types of things, which are fun. We have Instagram stickers. We put together a bunch of things like this that I think are a lot of fun, and we're actually trying to extend this whole message next week into National Travel and Tourism Week by putting together a, I'll call it well, it's kind of a concert series, but I think it's more than that. It's more of a variety show. You see all these benefit concerts that have been running and been fantastic. What we're doing is we're having performers from throughout the state perform from their living rooms. We have special guests like celebrities from the Detroit Tigers, the Detroit Lions, Mitch Albom, the great author from Detroit, and a bunch of other folks that are be joining us. And then we have on each of these shows each night, we'll have like a special demonstration that could only really come from Michigan, like maybe a pretzel making thing from Frankenmuth, or making a pasty in the Upper Peninsula food demo. And so it's going to be a lot of fun conversation, and it will be a fundraiser for our displaced hospitality workers. It's a strange time, and I think that one of the things that we always need to do is be nimble and you know, fill the gaps that are needed. We may see ourselves as destination marketers or management people, but in reality, we're just people who need to help other people too. So we put this together with our partners at MLive, and we have some really great MCs. It's going to be a really cool thing. So moving forward, we will be able to take all of this 2 Peninsula, 1 Pure Michigan message, and at the right time, we will then be saying, okay, we've told you why it was so important to stay home. Now it's important for you to stay in your state, to stay home while you travel. So in the future, we know, as the data Madeline was showing us, that people are going to want to find open spaces and fresh air and clean water and small towns and in nature more than maybe city experiences. So we will primarily target in-state audience in the region. And I know that's what most of our states in our region, at least, are doing, from talking to my colleagues. Last year, we actually introduced a program we called Meanwhile in Michigan. And the idea behind this was we wanted to get people to new places, small towns that they had never known before, that offer really beautiful experiences. But people didn't know about them because we didn't promote them that much. This was our effort to deal with over-tourism. Now we have a totally different challenge, but we can execute the same program here, where we're not worried about over-tourism anymore. But we are interested in getting people to go to places where they can feel comfortable, where there can be socially distancing, and they can still enjoy these beautiful, you know, natural environments with millions of acres of forest and thousands of lakes and things like that. So I see us transitioning initially into this approach, and then eventually, let's hope we can get some budget and we can start marketing to a greater audience regionally and otherwise, starting in-state, regional, national, into Ontario, and then into the rest of the world. It's going to take some while. It'll take a while, but we'll get it done.
So that's looking out a little bit further, obviously, 2 or 3 months. Is there any other sort of priorities you've got on that horizon over the next few months, Dave, in terms of what you'll be focusing on?
Yeah, well, most of our other focus is not necessarily in the marketing area. It's really more in the resource delivery, being that connection between, the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, trying to help the industry understand better on what they can learn with resources that are available, services and products. Because we all know this huge challenge we deal with is so complicated. Just dealing with unemployment issues for your staff. I've had to lay off 3 people for a couple of weeks. I know that that anxiety, being an employer that has to do that. So any services that we can help connect people with, we'll continue to relay that back and forth. I know in our state, I think it's the same as everywhere else. The industry really wants to know, what are the rules? What are people going to be allowed to do, and what is the industry going to be allowed to do? When can they do this? And these are all being developed. The very strange thing about this phenomenon is that, we all have our crisis plans. And for our office, I've always thought of a crisis plan as being all about communication. We're not we don't create the policies or the services out there, but I've never thought of us as being a connector to the degree that I felt it's important for us to play. So you asked earlier what my day is like. I spend a lot of time just playing connecting people, and of course that's our role in a different way most of the time.
So you're also Vice Chair of the National Council of State Tourism Directors. So can you just give us a quick sort of overview of what you've seen other states doing, and are there any, 1 or 2 sort of standouts or examples amongst those states of, where they're really showing an innovative approach to dealing with this crisis?
Yeah, I enjoyed seeing Kathy Ritter from Colorado last week, our chair. She's always innovative and interesting and has great insights. And the thing is, the best thing about being a travel director, honestly, besides all the great things you get to see and do, is that you get to work with this very small group around the country. Most collaborative group I've ever seen. We share insights. We have a meeting tomorrow, open forum, virtual meeting, where we're going to be talking about all these issues and sharing best practices from each state. I always look at kind of my heroes in the industry, people like Todd Davidson over in Oregon. He's always got great ideas, and he actually came out early with a nice pre-developed campaign and offered it for the rest of the states. Well, most of the states were already putting their own program together, so I don't know how many used it, but just the thought that somebody would offer up a program is really, really nice. We share information as well. So Dwayne in South Carolina had shared some insights on how welcome centers were being managed and how they were going to be slowly opened up in his state. It's this type of collaboration that will get us moving forward at the state level. And I'm hoping that, even though I think this is somewhat unusual at the local convention visitor bureau, smaller DMOs, I'm hoping that DMOs around the country, either through DI or otherwise, find ways to collaborate in this way. It's very beneficial. And you never know, what might seem to be not a very good idea for another state could be a really great idea for your state.
So what final sort of a piece of advice have you got, Dave, for destination marketing organization executives, managers, other stakeholders in the industry? What do you think is going to be most important to get through this crisis?
Well, I think, like the rest of life, attitude has a lot to do with it. And people are scared, but it's our job to try to help people fight through that. We inspire people to travel. We need to inspire our own industry to hang tough, to hang together, to not give up, because it is a really scary time for people. That's, I think, one of our most important roles. And we need to be truthful, as with any brand communication. You need to be truthful, but we also need to do all we can to inspire a sense of hope that we have a lot of smart people in this industry, and we're going to help this country come through this. We're going to be the leaders, frankly. This industry is always the first to get hit with these types of challenges. We also have the opportunity to be the first to come out of it. if we stay positive, we look for innovative ways to get things done. We don't just stick our heads in the sand and refuse to take chances, because I think that's going to be really necessary as well at the right time, to take some chances with some communication techniques. So if I was to say one word, it would be inspiration.